my name is Lane and I'm the photographer of LA Photography. This video is not directed towards photographers who are learning photography. This video is in fact directed towards clients who are wanting to understand more about the relationship between light and photography, to help them understand why certain results happen, especially if you're in a crappy lighting environment. And I want to show you how we can get the most out of your group portraits, especially when we're at weddings or events where there is actually low lighting occurring. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope this helps you understand more about light. In saying that, photographers who are learning will probably also gain some information about the inverse square law of light and how that applies to photography. Thank you. Hi, my name is Lane and I'm the photographer of LA Photography. The reason why I'm doing this video is I wanted to explain a little bit about the relationship with light and photography. A lot of people assume that photography is all about having a great camera. I've had clients go against my advice, thinking that it doesn't matter because my camera can either handle dark light or it can just simply be corrected in Photoshop. So I wanted to explain a little bit about how light works and how photography works so that you can get the best out of your photos. If I'm doing wedding photography and if I'm doing event photography and I know that you're wanting certain portraits, I will advise you on the best possible lighting to achieve the type of portraits that you want. Now, if I'm suggesting that we do something different to what you're wanting, for example, being in a fairly dark area, please do listen to me, because that way you are more likely to get the type of portraits that you're wanting. I promise you, I'm not trying to be difficult if I make other recommendations. I'm simply doing the best that I can to achieve the types of portraits that you're wanting, especially if I'm working in a low light environment without artificial lighting. What happens with the camera in a dark environment? The camera doesn't see the scene in front of us as we do. What it does is it takes an average of the scene, so that if there's a lot of colours, if it's dark, it's going to take an average of that and then turn it into 18% grey. So if it's dark, blacks are going to be even blacker. So that means if there's any shadows in the area, the camera actually sees it as black. So that means it's going to be more black. Just as if we are in a bright environment with lots of colour, the camera is going to be working with lots of camera and working out how to balance all that camera in the image so that it's not overpowering the image. This video is more about the inverse square law, because what actually happens, especially in a group situation where I have been asked to take a group portrait in the dark, people don't understand why there's shadows, they don't understand why it's not as bright as they would like it to be, and this video is going to explain why. Firstly, if you are in a situation where you're doing a group portrait, and if you've got minimal light, that minimal light can only travel so far. So obviously those in front of the light source are going to be more brighter than those further away from the light source. Photography is all about achieving an even balance of light. So if you're in a group situation where the light cannot spread over that group evenly, you will get shadow and you will not achieve an even lighting image as you're wanting to be. Because what actually happens is the light has to, at a minimal distance, it has to try and work over all those people that are in the photo, and it's just not possible if you're only working with a small amount of light. Even if you've got a great camera such as mine, which is a Nikon D4, and that is Nikon's second top camera. So it is all about working with light, it's not about the camera. So please, if we are in a low lighting environment, please do listen to me if I make a suggestion that we go inside where it's lighter. And then that way you're going to be much happier with your photos. So let's look at the inverse square law of light. And I'm going to do this in a way of showing you rather than talking about the science of it, because the science of it can actually get quite confusing if you don't have a science mind. As a quick explanation to explain the inverse square law of light. This is how it would work in a group situation, and this is where it is particularly important. Now, if you've got someone, as I mentioned, who is in front of the light source, in which case today it was the single video light, then they are obviously going to be brighter than anyone else beside them. Now, if the next person beside them is actually 2 meters away, the inverse law of light states that what we would do is we would square root that, which is 4, and that means that that person experienced the light drop off of 1/4 of the light of what the first person has. Now, if the third person away from the original person is 3 meters away, again, we take the square root of that, which is 9, and that means that person has 1/9 less of the light as the original person did, and so on as you go down the group. So that means there will in fact be a variation of light. Hi, it's Lee from LA Photography again, and I am putting into action showing you how the inverse square of light works. You can see from this image, which I have purposely put in crappy lighting, you can actually see the drop off of light. Now we have a single light source that I am actually using, which is just a small video light, and it's pointing obviously at the middle yellow dress, and even though this is a great camera, you can see how the light actually drops off the further away it is from the middle subject. Now the only way that you can overcome this is you're in a dark environment or a low lighting environment, is you need an additional artificial light. It's all about your light source, and it's all about how you are working with that light source. So if you're wanting a group portrait that is lit nice and bright, you either have to allow me to bring additional artificial light, or you need to follow my advice if there is a lighter area and a more well lit area, and please do follow my advice so that I can achieve the best possible result for you. Photography is not about relying on Photoshop. As a professional photographer, I am always working to get the image right in camera so that minimal editing is needed afterwards. And if I'm not here to do extensive editing where clients have, they've gone against my advice, and as a result they're not happy with the image, despite the fact that I have tried to tell them why it's not good to have a photograph in a low lighting environment without artificial lighting, if there is actually a nice bright area available that we could have done it. I'm not there to be doing extensive editing in Photoshop, which doesn't always work because it really depends on the exposure of which it was taken. So if it was taken at a fairly bad exposure because of the low lighting environment, correcting it in Photoshop does not always work. So what I am actually going to do now is, with this image that you're seeing in front of me, I will be taking a photo of it. I will be showing you the unedited version, and I will also be showing you the edited version. But the main thing is, please do have a look at the light fall off. Please do realise that we do require even and balanced lighting, no matter how good the camera is. So please do listen to my advice, because I'm here to make sure that you have the type of beautiful portraits that you are wanting, especially beautiful group family portraits, and we want everybody in a nice bright environment so that we can see all their faces clearly, because also, as you're seeing, the further away the object is from the light source, you're getting increased shadow. Now, if there's also a variation in heights of people, again, the light's just not going to reach taller people or anyone out of the distance of where the light is actually falling to. If people aren't standing evenly, if it depends on where people are putting their arms, and all of that means that light is having to work harder to get more distance, and it's just not going to be the portraits that you're wanting. So and this is exactly what I want to do for clients, is I want to give you the types of portraits that you are wanting. But in order for me to do that, please do listen to my suggestions so that we can work together and ensure that you have got beautiful portraits. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helps you understand a little bit more about the relationship between photography and light. We are looking at the original image of the video that I had actually done earlier. Now, as you can see, clearly you can see the light drop off. The dress that is in direct proportion to the main light source, which is a single video light, is nicely and evenly lit, and that's compared to the dresses that are more further away from that light. Also, you can see additional shadows, and there's lots of blacks in there as well. So this is what actually happens in a real life situation, no matter how good the camera is. And this is why, if you are in a low lighting environment, you will either get a lot of shadow or blacks unless you use artificial lighting to help balance it out. What would actually happen in a low lighting environment is there would in fact be more blacks, because the camera doesn't see the scene in front of it as we do. The camera doesn't know that there's 4 dresses there, and it doesn't know that there's 2 pink dresses there and there's 2 yellow dresses there. All it knows is that there's some pink, yellow, grey and white, and it's going to take an average of all of that and it's going to put it into the result. It has no idea what it's looking at. And so if you've got an image where you're in a low lighting environment and you've got darker clothes, again, that's going to bring in more blacks and more shadows. In fact, you can even see evidence of that. Even the pink dress on to the immediate right of the first yellow dress is darker, as is the other one than the yellow dress that is furthest away. So if you've got nice light colours like yellow and white, that's going to reflect more of the light, then you're going to have a more evenly lit area around them. So if you've got lots and lots of blacks coming in, your portraits are going to be very dark, and it's quite limiting in what we can actually do even in Photoshop. The following image that we are looking at is the image that has been edited. We are now looking at the edited version of the same image that I have been recording earlier. As you can see, I have in fact been able to make it nice and bright, and I've also been able to achieve a fairly well evenly lit image. Now, even though the image looks great here, the actual image doesn't look so good, and it's not an image that I would be releasing to clients, because should you take this image to print, you would have a lot of loss of detail. The actual image, when you look at it, has really lost a lot of its integrity. Even though I have been able to make this image brighter and fairly well evenly lit, as you may be able to appreciate, if this was actually taken in an even lower lighting environment with groups of people wearing black clothing, this would be harder to achieve. And I've already mentioned that I've lost the integrity of the quality in this image by doing this, and that's why I wouldn't release it to clients. And it will be very hard to do so with an image that's just full of blacks, because the camera will be taking in an average of the scene and bringing in more blacks and more shadows, which is harder to remove in Photoshop. So this is why it's really important at events or weddings, or especially in low lighting areas. My role as a professional photographer is I am there to help you achieve the most beautiful portraits that you are wanting to do so. In order to do so, I will make the best possible suggestions of how we can actually achieve those together. Let's work together and let's make sure that we are able to do exactly that for you. Thank you for watching. Hi, it's Lane from LA Photography, and I just wanted to make a note to remind viewers that this video was actually directed towards clients who may not have any understanding about photography at all. It is not directed towards photographers who are learning photography, and that is why I have purposely used very loose terms, being unsure of the level of understanding that clients may actually have with regards to photography. Thanks for watching.